From a tower of skulls stacked higher than a city wall, to a protégé who stabbed his own mentor in the back, to a single river crossing that quietly rewrote the next 600 years. This is the warlord who accidentally created Russia, explained. A story so wild that the country firing missiles into Ukraine today might not even exist if one man in 1395 had just stayed home. But let's rewind. Picture Central Asia in the 1300s. The Mongol Empire that Genghis Khan built? Gone, shattered into pieces. And into that chaos walks a guy named Timur. You might know him as Tamerlane, which literally means Timur the Lame, 'cause an old battle wound left him limping for life. Don't let the nickname fool you. This man was terrifying. Born near Samarkand around 1336, he clawed his way from a minor warlord up to ruler of an empire, stretching from India to Turkey. His signature move? Building actual towers out of the skulls of everyone who told him no. By some estimates, his wars killed around 17 million people. That was roughly 5% of the entire planet at the time. Cool. Cool. So that's the guy we're dealing with. Now here's the thing. To the north of Timur sat another chunk of the old Mongol world, the Golden Horde. This was the empire that had crushed and ruled the Russian principalities for over a century. The Russian princes didn't govern themselves. They knelt. They paid tribute. They begged the Khan for permission to even sit on their own thrones. Moscow at this point wasn't a superpower. It was a frozen little trading town that survived by being the Horde's favorite tax collector. Yeah, that's the Russia we're talking about. Adorable. And the Golden Horde had a rising star. His name was Tokhtamysh. Oh boy, here we go. Tokhtamysh was ambitious, charming, and completely ungrateful. See, when he was a nobody on the run, guess who took him in, funded his army, and basically handed him the throne of the Golden Horde? Timur. That's right. Timur was his mentor, his sponsor, his whole reason for existing. And what does Tokhtamysh do the second he's powerful? He turns around and invades Timur's own lands. He sacks Timur's cities. He spits in the face of the one man on earth you absolutely do not want as an enemy. Sir, that is not a plan. That is a death wish with extra steps. So what does Timur do? Exactly what you'd expect. He goes hunting. And the betrayal he had to avenge came in 3 flavors. Number 1, Tokhtamysh had raided his territory down in the Caucasus. Number 2, he'd threatened Timur's trade routes, the money pipeline that kept the whole empire fed. And number 3, it was personal. Nobody humiliates Tamerlane and lives comfortably afterward. They clashed first in 1391 at the Ugra River. Timur won, but Tokhtamysh slipped away and rebuilt his army. So in 1395, Timur came back to finish the job. At the Terek River, he shattered the Golden Horde for good. And then he did the thing that actually changed history. He didn't just beat them, he erased them. He marched through the Horde's heartland and burned its great cities to the ground. Sarai, Astrakhan, the rich trade hubs along the Volga that made the whole empire wealthy. Gone, reduced to ash and memory. But here's the crazy part. Timur didn't even want Russia. He looted, he leveled, and he left. He turned around and went off to conquer other people, eventually dying in 1405 on his way to invade China. 'Cause of course he did. To Timur, the Golden Horde was just a backstabbing ex he needed to humble. He had no idea what he'd just unleashed. 'Cause here's what happened next. The Golden Horde never recovered. Its cities were dead. Its economy was broken. Its iron grip on the Russian principalities went limp. And one of those little tribute-paying towns saw its chance, Moscow. But here's the kicker. Moscow didn't rise with some glorious rebellion. There was no epic war of independence, no heroic last stand. In 1480, a Moscow prince named Ivan III just stopped paying. The 2 armies lined up on opposite banks of the Ugra River, stared at each other for weeks, and then both sides just went home. No giant battle. That was it. After more than 2 centuries of Mongol domination, Russia walked free. Mostly because the empire that ruled it had already been hollowed out by Timur 85 years earlier. And the response from the rest of the world? Nothing. Almost nobody noticed. But that quiet standoff on a frozen river was the real birth of an independent Russia. From there, it snowballed fast. Ivan started calling himself the gatherer of the Russian lands. His grandson, Ivan IV, the one history remembers as Ivan the Terrible, crowned himself the very first Tsar in 1547 and went on the attack. And the broken pieces of the Golden Horde? The Khanates of Kazan and Astrakhan? The exact people who used to rule over Russia? He conquered them one by one. Kazan fell in 1552. The tax collector had become the empire. So let's actually play the what if. What if Timur had just shrugged off Tokhtamysh's insult and stayed home? The Golden Horde survives. It keeps its cities, its trade, its armies. Moscow stays a frozen little vassal paying tribute for another century, maybe two. And the Russia we know, the one that sprawled across 11 time zones, the one that gave us the Tsars, the Soviet Union, and the modern Russian state? It might never have existed at all. A completely different empire sits on that land, a Turkic one, a Muslim one. The map of the entire world would be unrecognizable today. One man's grudge, that's all it took. And this is the part historians always skip. We talk about Russia like it was destiny, like it was always going to be a giant looming over the map. It wasn't. It was an accident. It was the leftover scraps of an empire that a limping conqueror smashed on his way to somewhere else, never once realizing he was clearing the ground for a superpower that would outlive his own by 6 centuries. And when you watch the news today, when you see Russian tanks crossing the Ukrainian border, you're watching the distant aftershock of a decision made on a riverbank in 1395. The empire Timur accidentally built is still here, still expanding, still reaching for the same lands the Golden Horde once held. The man has been dead for over 600 years, and his shadow is still sitting right there on the map. History doesn't care about your plans. It only remembers your consequences. But if you thought one warlord accidentally building a superpower was wild, wait until you hear about the empire that conquered the largest land area in human history and then vanished almost without a trace. Click this video right here.